news. But so let's get back real quick to the core components so people really fully understand. So I'm looking on the website, which is, by the way, acportland.org, correct?
Yes.
And I'm looking under the Soccer for Success. So the core components, the physical activity, which is obvious, right? It says that they participate, the kiddos, 90-minute sessions at least 3 days a week. And is that like in adherence to the guidelines sort of on what activity level kids should be at?
The U.S. Soccer Foundation has parameters, but they've worked with the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. They've worked with a lot of different groups to figure out, what's the best way to get our kids active and healthy. And they found at minimum, it should be 3 days a week for 90 minutes. Minimum, right? We need to get our kids active every single day. They should be running around every single day. So in Portland, we actually run the program 4 days a week.
Oh.
We would love to do it 5. The programs that we work with are 4, and so we go in and do 4 days a week. And then we're hoping this year to add a Saturday game day. So our basketball program, we did that. We entered the kids in the Portland Parks and Rec Golden Ball League, and they had a blast, and it just really helped elevate things. One way that it helped, I'll give you an example. When the kids in one of our schools started the basketball, they had to sign a contract. The parents had to agree that if the kids weren't passing, then they had to come to the game, sit on the bench, but they couldn't play. So the first game, I think 4 kids could play. So we had to forfeit the game, but we still went, and the other team had kids that played, and they still had a game. But the next week, only 2 kids couldn't play. By the end of the season, the grade point average was like a 2.9 or something. So it went from a 1.8 to a 2.9. So,
wow.
And that's from being encouraged that, if you want these opportunities, you have to do well in school.
That's right. It's an incentive.
It is an incentive.
But it's also teaches some discipline. Like you're not going to reap benefits when you don't do the work.
Exactly.
That it takes to get there. And that's with anything in life.
Anything. So
anything.
Think about this. If you've never been a part of a team, then when you get a job someday and you're told to go work with a group of people, you don't know how. If you've never had a coach that's giving you instruction, what about when your boss is trying to give you instruction? These are things that you just inherently learn while you play sports. And those are things that our kids are missing out on.
Absolutely. I love that. The more I hear about this program, the more excited I am about it.
Well, good, because you're going to come volunteer.
Hey, I'm not mad at that, because guess what? Kids aren't the only ones who need to have vigorous exercise.
You're right.
Because I will tell you, and I'm always revealing personal stuff on the show, it doesn't matter. But my doctor recently told me that my blood levels were at like pre-diabetic levels. And I was shocked because I considered myself to be fairly fit. I've had 3 children, and the last baby, I could tell that there were some sort of issues around possible like gestational diabetes, but I didn't have it, but the levels were getting close.
Right.
So for whatever reason, this is what I'm dealing with. And she told me, my doctor straight up was like, look, you need to work out every day. And I was looking at her like, who are you talking to? Me?
I got 3 kids. I don't have time to work.
I don't have time for that. I'm working. I got 3 kids. I got all this stuff going on. And she was like, do you want to be here for them? And I was like, wow. Yeah. And when you put it that way, as you look at me right now in total workout gear, it's like my new uniform. Because first of all, I already don't like it. But that's just because I'm kind of lazy. I tend to be on the lazier side. But that's my own issue. I'm working through that. But if I start to like get in the mindset and I realize that this is something that's necessary, just like eating, just like sleeping, I need to get it in my brain. So I'm not kids are not the only ones that need this. Parents do too. And so as a whole, I love this part about the family engagement piece. That's part of your core components in the program, because it's definitely necessary. Like you said, you can teach the kid something and then they do it, and they will. In front of the team, with the team, out there on the field, whatever, and their mindset will be right there. But when they go home, if it's not really the same sort of values instilled or understanding or level of importance, it kind of is like, fall off.
Completely. And the way you said it, I think you had a sense of urgency when the doctor told you that, right?
Oh,
I mean, this isn't a joke.
No.
It's serious. And I think we talk about our kids and I don't think we're doing right by our future and the kids. I think we focus a lot about the needs of adults and what we want, and we spend our money and allocate our money as a city towards things that help, adults and
make our lives more convenient.
Make our lives more convenient.
Right.
But then our schools are just suffering terribly.
It's so ironic, Ben, because you said they're cutting the programs in the school, right? But
Absolutely.
then the national standards say that they need this much activity.
It makes
minimum.
no sense. It makes no sense.
So when are they supposed to get that in the 3 minutes of recess that they get and the 2 minutes they have to scarf down food at lunch? Like the whole thing drives me bananas.
It makes no sense.
Well, that's why I'm glad you're here.
Well, and that's why we've had to fill in the gap. So someday, wouldn't it be amazing if I didn't exist and my job didn't exist because we brought this and we did the schools right and we figured out a way to get this back into the school day? I would love that.
Right.
But in the meantime, we have to figure out a way. And so we're being creative. We have some amazing partners that have come alongside us. U.S. Soccer Foundation, Peace Players International. We work with an organization called America Scores that does creative writing and service learning.
Yeah, I was just looking at that. So you guys have teacher volunteers on your staff or just people who are naturally creative and...
A little bit of both.
Okay.
So a lot of our coaches are just creative people who are willing to, or want to be teachers but can't break into the system.
Sure.
That's a whole nother...
Yeah, that's another show.
Situation and conversation. But let's focus on this right now.
Right.
Yeah, we basically sit down with our kids and say, let's try to be creative. Let's give you an outlet. And you'd be surprised if you give a kid a pen and say, talk about yourself. A lot of our kids never get asked how you doing, how you feel. And they start saying stuff. And
it's like an expressive outlet for them.
It's a complete, and they're so deep and sometimes it's really dark and sad. And sometimes it's so funny and goofy and you get it all.
Right.
But it's therapy. It gives a kid a chance to just express themselves.
So Ben, so let's say at a typical after-school site. So we got the soccer or basketball piece down, right? That's the physical activity and all the other core components that we discussed that go into that. How long are we talking? Because if you're doing all of that, and then on top of that, are you also doing sort of incorporating this America Scores,
right,
with the reading and the writing and
the service and all the components?
Right.
Yeah.
So how long are we talking? Like hours and hours after school?
No, it's typically around 2 hours. The program is, and the kids would show up and they'd get an afternoon snack that the county provides, which is a healthy snack, and then they would come into our program and they would do 60 minutes of the physical activity, and then they would go in to a classroom and work on the poetry, creative writing piece. So and once you do the transitions and getting kids from here to there, it usually takes about 2 hours.
Yeah. Do they have time to do any homework or anything like that?
They do.
Do you have tutors and helpers?
Then that's all through the Sun School. They provide that.
Right.
And if we're done with the poetry part, then they'll break out homework or different things like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's summertime.
Summer camp.
Okay.
What do you
do?
What do you do all day when you don't go to school?
Yeah,
you got to give these kids an opportunity, and a lot of kids can't afford to go to camp. So we've gone out to several of our sites and provided free camps for the kids this summer.
Love that.
It's been great.
Like all day?
It's been a lot of fun. It would be the ones we did were half day.
Yeah.
And then because the county provided a meal at a lot of the schools, we would go in and run programming, and then the kids could stay and have their free lunch.
Sweet. And that's so important, too, because a lot of people don't understand that when kids are out out in the summer, they have been relying on those meals at school, the breakfast and the lunch, and then possibly the snack or what have you. When kids are going hungry in summer.
They are.